If you've ever seen the Nike slides that I've been wearing since 2011, you know that I can get a lot of miles out of one thing. On the fretboard, that happens to be a major chord. And today we're going to talk about 3 different things you can add to one major chord that make it sound that you know exactly what you're doing and that you're the pinnacle of fashion. And you know what? They're a black pair of slides. You can't tell that they're 10 years old at this point. So what we're going to do today sounds like this. Okay, so we're starting off on a G major chord because G is the people's key. Eventually we're going to do this in a B flat also after we talk about the G part because B flat is the official key of 2021. Rocking the D'Angelico semi-hollow, really awesome guitar. You can check it out in the description and the link. But first of all, we're going to start with the G major. Okay, you can play open G major just like this. Middle finger 3 on the low E string, pointer finger 2 on the A string, ring finger 3 on the D string, however you want to play it. But we're going to be thinking of this bar chord version to start with. You don't have to play it as a bar chord. That's the most important thing, okay? So don't worry about getting all 6 strings held down, but I want to talk about getting the same notes in G major any way you combine a G, a B, and a D note, because that's going to be our launching point from the 3 different things we're going to add to this, all right? So your pointer finger is on the root note G on the E string, 3rd fret, right? Now your ring finger and your pinky, these are going to be working together, just like slide left and slide right. The Nike slides, I'm telling you, the best deal on the website, $30 a decade later. Come on, please. These 2 are going to be important for where we're going, right? Your ring finger and your pinky, and then your middle finger on the 4th fret of the G string. That's what makes the chord major, right? If it was flat, it would be minor. So we can kind of adjust this if we want. But we're starting off right here, okay? I'm going to play in this finger style. You can play it however you want. But the first thing we're going to do, and this is, again, you don't have to bar it. We're only going to use the lowest 4 strings. Here's that first thing. We're sliding. The metaphors. The metaphors just make themselves at this point. Sliding from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, okay? Just these 2 fingers. And we're going to kind of see this as an extension of this G major chord. Now you can think of it in a bunch of different ways, right? These are just notes in the key of G. Specifically, you can maybe think of this as like a power chord almost, but I'm thinking of this of something that we can do to make this G chord sound a little bit more interesting, all right? So that's just gonna be the first thing. And you can always do this with really, any major chord that you want to try around and kind of see how it works. Like even if you have like a G to C progression, it's a super easy thing because you're only moving 2 frets or 1 step higher, but it's going to sound good. Now the other thing that opens up is because we're really, part of this G chord is 5 on the A string and 5 on the D string, and then when we extend it to 7A and 7D, we're really talking about 4 different notes, okay? So we can use these 4 notes or this location to kind of make a riff or something. Right? A great spot, anytime you have like a symmetrical shape like this, it's perfect for doing hammer-ons and pull-offs and switching strings because it's always going to sound good. You can do it very fluidly without having to do a lot of work, right? So we've got the A string, hammer-on 5 to 7, and then the D string hammer-on 5 to 7. Just like that. You can even add that. So now we're kind of making just little licks off of just adding this one thing, this one extension from where we're going, all right? That's just 1. Still 2 to go, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that 1 step further, okay? Now, we can call these double stops. The double stop is where you kind of just hit 2 notes at the same time. It's not really a chord. Technically, you need 3 different notes to qualify as a chord, but who's keeping track, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the next kind of step in the progress here, which is really where we started. Again, this is a G major chord. Now remember, that open G major chord like this right here, where where we have your middle finger on 3E and your pointer finger on 2A. That little shape, that little piece is just the beginning of a root note and it's major third, okay? So we can really find any root G, and this shape is gonna give us a B most of the time on the guitar, right? So the next one on the A string is the 10th fret, a G and a B, okay? It's a really great way to kind of like learn the fretboard. In fact, we have a whole course on how to like master the fretboard with a bunch of tips and tricks like this. It's on sale, so I'll link you in the description if you're interested in anything like that. But basically, this is just one really easy one where it's like, all right, I know this is a G and this is a B. So I also know that the 10th fret is a G, whether you knew that before or I just taught it to you. Just remember that because it's important. And then that falls in line. So you learn one note and you learn the location of another note because you know that shape. Okay? Now, the important thing for the purpose of this lesson is being able to go from here to that first extension we did into the next octave of a G and a B, right? And specifically on electric guitar, I think it sounds really cool when you can kind of slide into them, right? Also, this is going through the Fender Deluxe Reverb 65 reissue that I use all the time, which you can't see, so it's good to mention that every now and then, right? Now, there's a lot of things that we can do by just adding this second kind of piece of information. We can kind of continue on, and since this is really just the same chord still, just in a different location, we can still make it sound musical. So you can see that the first part, going to the extension, back home. Now it doesn't really matter which fingers you use. It's more of like in your mind's eye being able to see these shapes and kind of get to them however you want. I really have gravitated more towards either using my ring finger and my pinky when it comes to notes in kind of series like this, because I feel like I can get a good controlled vibrato from that. The other version of that is really just kind of like using your pointer finger, because again, you can kind of do that thing where you just get a nice controlled vibrato. It's just a little bit of a different feel, but it's a much easier slide because you can kind of do that. It also sets you up for like primo position if you wanted to do some kind of like some kind of pentatonic riff or lick or something like that, right? So, the initial chord is that first extension we used into that second location that we used, right? And then now we're going to add one more thing, the kind of third tip that we're adding from this, right? So far we've really spent all our time on the E, A, and D string, okay? But like we said early on, when we made that first chord, the G string is where we have the note that establishes whether a chord is major or minor, all right? So in this case, G, major, right here, your middle finger on the 4th fret. One thing that always sounds really cool on acoustic or electric guitar is taking that major third and then doing a hammer-on to the note right after it, and then a pull-off, and then maybe going back to the root note, okay? One great example of this is using a triad 3-note chord, right? So maybe like an F-shaped G major chord will be right here, where it's 5, 4, 3, a little staircase action right there, and then kind of doing that. You can do that same thing in here with your pinky, but I think a lot of people have a stronger time doing that if it's their ring finger, kind of grabbing that flourish, right? Now we can do the same thing and add it to what we've already been doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to see this little move right here. Again, it doesn't matter what fingers you use. In fact, now I'm going to use my pointer finger to start on what we have been referring to as the major third of this chord. And the reason I want to do it with my pointer finger is because now my middle finger ends up at the end of that flourish in the spot that we're kind of taking off from. Okay? See? So I can do that. And combine all three ideas. So we've got that flourish into that, maybe We can think of that as a 4-note scale even, but we just took that from that extension and then end up on the higher voice of G and its major third, right? It just has a nice resolution there because we're all staying in the same key. So again, we've got the chord, the first extension into the higher voice with the riff. And we just combined all three of those ideas into really just kind of making one chord and really fleshing it out and exploring the fretboard, which I think is always a lot of fun. All this stuff is movable. So let's do it in the key of 2021. B flat. All right. Really, we can do the same thing in the same location. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is an interval, right? A space between two things. We can measure them in different words, right? Different units of measurement. From G to B flat. A very Elliott Smith move. If you guys watch this channel before, you know I'm a huge Elliott Smith fan. He uses major chords in minor thirds a lot. So that's why G and B flat, even though they're not in this key together, sound really good, I think. 3 fret spacing is what's called a minor third. We've already used this before from this, when we went from that first move into the next one right there, from 7A and 7D to 10A and 9D. That distance right there is a minor third. We do the same thing with full chords. And then we do the exact same thing just starting here. So again, I might not even know off the top of my head what notes are in a B flat major chord or how I can kind of use that. But I do know that if I can root it here, the 6th fret on the E string, all of that shape stays intact and everything that I can do just moves over and translates seamlessly, right? Now, again, I think you can kind of figure that out once you see the pattern. But I want to talk about rooting it on the A string. All right, so a B flat major chord rooted on the A string is the 1st fret on the A string, and then we have 3, 3, and 3. Okay, that can be kind of a stretch for a lot of people, right? So just play like this with your pointer finger, right? And then now everything else still applies for the most part, where we can still. Just like that, right? There's the chord, but now we're still thinking of it. Now the bottom of the chord might be the top as far as where you kind of think of your perspective is from your finger, right? Everything is the same. Just like that, right? The nice thing about A string rooted chords, if this is the key that you're in, that minor pentatonic thing that guitar players really love to get into, is right actually part of this here. What's the relative minor of B flat? This could be kind of getting over some people's head, but it's something that is really important to know. Again, that's why we talk about that in the class. Or if you want something from the ground up, the Patreon that I have might be a better option, because you can just spend $12, blow through all of it in a month, and then just go wild. That's like 1/3 of the cost of a pair of slides that will last you 10 years. So think of the value you're getting for only $12. Amazing, right? Relative minor is always 3 frets back from the root note on the E string, right? So everybody's favorite minor pentatonic position in the key of B flat would be like right here. And then all of that stuff really just kind of flies very seamless. Just like that. So there are different advantages depending on where you want to root your major chords. And again, maybe I can do another video on this with minor chords if you guys are interested. Definitely let me know in the comments. But it's just one thing to think of when maybe you're arranging something for guitar, you're playing, it's like, well, do I want to use the E string rooted chord and then kind of get around here and go higher? Or do I want to use the A string one, come back a little bit, even though it's more of a stretch here, maybe that opens up different like licks and stuff that you've already learned in different positions. So that's just kind of like one school of thought on really exploring stuff that you already know, right? A lot of people get this bar chord, even if it's not a bar chord, they get this shape down right away because it's such an important shape. And you already have these fingers together. You might as well kind of get some use out of them. Kind of have them just pull double duty and really kind of make some good sounding stuff. So definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, like I said, to hit that class up because it's going to be on sale for a little bit. I think it works for like 2 weeks. The link does. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. Thanks for watching.